Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the weekend walkthrough where I take a look at what happened in this weekend's Premier League matches from a fancy Premier League perspective. And the game week is still not finished yet. We still have the Monday game of Leicester against Liverpool and we have the final game with the double game weekers in action, Newcastle against Brighton. But the first game of the weekend was Leeds against Newcastle, which is the first game for Newcastle in the double. And it proved to be a huge swing for those who went with Wilson captain over Isak captain, because those were the two most popular captaincy picks among like the FPL engaged managers. And Wilson got 2 goals from 2 penalties, and Isak only got an assist from winning one of the penalties. So it was a huge swing there, and it really could have gone the other way as well, because the second penalty came right before Callum Wilson was about to be subbed off. And if Wilson had been subbed off, Isak would have been the one to take the penalty. Isak was also kind of the one to cause both penalties. He was fouled for the first one, and then for the second one, he was about to header it on goal when Junior Firpo went up with his hand and basically handballed it quite clearly, kind of like an NFL cornerback trying to save a touchdown pass from happening. But anyways, Isak kind of forced both penalties, but Wilson was the one who got to convert them. So as you can see, Wilson, he had non-penalty expected goal involvement of only 0.19, not the best, but as the penalty taker, this is why we keep stressing on having penalty takers in your team. That's why Wilson has been such a good player this game week so far, because he took 2 penalties, he scored both of them, 2 really good penalties. The first one was just hard into the bottom corner. Joel Robles was actually after the ball, but he couldn't save it. And the second goal, he just shot it straight down the middle when Robles went to the same side again. So well done from Wilson. He's never missed a penalty for Newcastle since he joined Newcastle from Bournemouth. So he's still the penalty taker above Isak. We've seen Isak take penalties before when Wilson hasn't been playing, but Wilson has been playing more and more lately, with Isak playing kind of more centrally this time. But usually Isak plays more on the left-hand side, and Wilson is more the central striker. And in this game, really, it was just all down to the penalties, even when it comes to Leeds, because Leeds also got a penalty right before the Newcastle penalty. So Leeds took the lead with Luke Ayling pretty early. Rodrigo had a nice header. Pope saved it, and Ayling put the ball into the goal. And then Junior Firpo was brought down by Joe Linton. Leeds get a penalty, chance to go up 2-0, but Bamford steps up to take it rather than Rodrigo. And Bamford has missed a penalty earlier this season in the Premier League, and he misses again. Pope makes a great save, and Bamford misses. And I think Rodrigo should have been on the penalties. I think Rodrigo is by far the better striker out of the two. I think he really should have been the starting striker the last few game weeks. I don't know why Bamford keeps playing, because he's been a really bad striker this whole season. So yeah, anyways, that also made a difference. Leeds, they actually managed to nick a goal towards the end and equalize through Rasmus Christensen, who was kind of like a preseason favorite of mine, because I thought he had potential to be kind of like Marcos Alonso-ish, but obviously when he was priced at 5.0, he was never an option really for playing for a pretty terrible Leeds defense. So yeah, he never got to be turned into what I think he can be, and that's a high-level goal scorer from defense. But anyways, that's a bit of a tangent. But this match is about Newcastle and Wilson getting a major point haul, getting 12 points while Isak only got 5 points. But that might be reversed in the Brighton fixture on Tuesday. We never know, so we'll have to see about that. But moving on to the next match, it is Aston Villa against Spurs, and Aston Villa are back on track, beating Spurs like they did earlier in the season. And once again, Watkins back amongst the goals. He actually had an assist this time. He didn't score a goal, but he had the best non-penalty expected goal involvement. He's also the penalty taker for Aston Villa, but he hasn't been able to take that many penalties like we've seen Wilson do now. But he played a really good game. He won the free kick. My mind is still on the penalties from the Newcastle game, but he won the free kick that Douglas Luiz scored. It was actually not the best free kick. I think Fraser Forster should have saved it. It was pretty much in the middle of the goal, and in terms of height, and it was also kind of towards the middle in terms of accuracy as well. So it wasn't the best free kick, but it still went in. We also need to talk a bit about Kane. I've written there Kane good and bad, because he had a major chance to put Spurs in the lead pretty early on, and he shot it straight at Emi Martinez. It was not the best, but then he kind of redeemed himself toward the end of the match when he won a penalty. It was kind of bad. This time was kind of bad from Emi Martinez. He really should have secured the ball, but he was too late getting out to the ball. Kane got the first touch, and Kane expertly really won the penalty as well. Like, it was a clear penalty looking at it again, but Kane knew exactly what he was doing. He knew he was going down there. He had a really nice technique. Like, he is perfected getting penalties. But yeah, it was a penalty anyway. Martinez brought him down and he couldn't save the penalty, so they got a bit of a consolation goal. They almost got an equalizer at the end, but it was not meant to be for Spurs, and they lose 2-1. Another disappointing result for them, and their season's kind of over. They still kind of fight against Aston Villa in the table when it comes to the Europa League spots, but I don't know if Spurs even want that at this point. I think they want to rebuild. And Kane scores again. He's been amazing for Spurs, but it's coming towards the end of his career, I think, at Spurs. I think he's going to go to Man United next season, but that's just a hot tip for now. But as far as Aston Villa go, that's the more interesting part for next season, I think, because I think they will have some really nice Fantasy Premier League options next season. You can see Moreno there as well. Alex Moreno has been a revelation since he came in as a left back, taking over from Digne, the famous FPL troll. Moreno has been much more consistent. He didn't get any point returns this time, didn't get a clean sheet, didn't get assists and stuff, but he's proven time and time again that he can get goals and assists and be a really good player for Aston Villa going forward, especially in Fantasy Premier League. You also have to talk about Jacob Ramsey, who scored the first goal. Looking like a real good player. He's always been sort of like close to breaking out into like a top player, and I think next season might be his season. I think I'm making like a zombie team of the season, like a team that's going to last throughout the whole season for next year's Fantasy Premier League. And I think Jacob Ramsey is one of those guys that I'm considering to have as like a breakout star for next season. So watch out for him, watch out for Watkins, Moreno. So many good options for Aston Villa, even Buendia as well, and Bailey at points as well can be decent value if they are priced correctly. So Aston Villa are really interesting to look at for next season, I think. Moving on to another player that is really interesting to watch going forward, and that is Eberechi Eze. He looks like an absolute superstar. The second goal against Bournemouth was just top class. First of all, it was a really great pass. I can't remember exactly who passed it, but it was a great pass from the right hand side all across the pitch to Eze. Takes a sublime touch, goes in along the 16 meter box. I can't remember exactly how many yards it is off the top of my head, but either ways, he goes along the box and just rockets the ball into the top corner. A great goal from Eze, who also scored the first goal after really nice setup from Wilfried Zaha, who looked really good, but then he got injured again. Zaha, I listed him as one of my differentials in the comment sections for one of my videos for last week. I had a couple of differentials there, and 2 of them worked out, 2 of them didn't work out really. Anthony, we're going to get to those guys, but I mentioned Anthony, Mitrovic. It was actually 5 guys. Anthony, Mitrovic, Zaha, I should have gone with just Eze there, and Martinelli got injured, and also I mentioned a Chelsea player, most likely Sterling. We're going to talk more about him later as well, but those were some of the differentials I mentioned, and they did pretty well. But when it comes to Eze, he's clearly one I should have mentioned. Don't know if he's much of a differential. He's kind of like a known quantity at this point. He's been so good under Roy Hodgson, and he showed again his class. I think he's going to break out for sure. He has already now under Hodgson. It remains to be seen if we can do it with a new manager next season, but he just looks like absolute class at the moment and scored 2 really nice goals. So hats off to Eze. He got 16 points. Amazing for anyone that brought him in. Still has 2 really easy fixtures to go. I think he's definitely one to watch if you have the transfers ready to get him in. So great from him. Bournemouth, I've written on the beach. It seems like they're just done with the season. Lost against Chelsea last game week, and now they lost against Crystal Palace quite convincingly. Crystal Palace also probably should have had a penalty early on, and then Bournemouth claimed that they should have had a red card, that Palace should have had a red card for Joachim Andersen, who sort of like, he did kind of punch a guy in the face, but I think it was inadvertent. I think that's why the referee didn't go to the monitor, or wasn't asked to go to the monitor they didn't give the red card at least, because I think it was inadvertent. I don't think it was meant to be like a proper punch. He was trying to move over and hit him kind of in the face with a punch. So I guess it could have been a red card, and that would have been a totally different game if that was a red card at 0-0 early on in the game. But either way, Crystal Palace got away with it, and Eze, 2 goals, magnificent from Eze, who looks amazing. Moving on to Man United against Wolves. Again, yet another team that seemed to be kind of checked out, and that is Wolves. Man United have a lot to play for. They need to defend 3rd place, 4th place, the top 4 position, and get into the Champions League next season. And they played really well, as you can see from the expected goals. 3.20 from Man United, 0.33 from Wolves. Wolves were never really that close, and Man United were super close at several points. Luke Shaw got to play left back. He is amazing as a FPL prospect at left back. He hasn't played left back that much. lately. That's why he's sort of been a disappointment for me since I brought him in like 4 or 5 game weeks ago. But he got to play left back in this game and proved why he's such a good player in FPL when he plays in his favorite position, because he really should have had an assist to Anthony. Anthony missed an open header quite early on in the game, but Luke Shaw still did manage to get a yellow card at the end, but he still managed to get 3 bonus points and 8 points in total. Really good from him. Bruno Fernandes got an assist. Once again, should have had a lot more. I think Bruno Fernandes has been really unlucky not to get a lot more points the last few game weeks, and I think he's a fantastic option for the final 2 game weeks as well. I'm definitely looking into bringing him in myself. 1.02 when it comes to non-penalty expected goal involvement, and we know he's on penalties as well, so hats off to him. He did get an assist though through Alejandro Garnacho, who celebrated by putting the ball under his shirt and doing like the baby celebration. Apparently he's having a baby. He's 18 years old. He's born in 2004. I gotta get moving. I guess I'm 32 years old and I don't have a kid. So yeah, congrats to Garnacho. He's an amazing player and he's having a baby already. So congrats, I guess. Wolverhampton, kind of boring, but the one interesting thing about Wolverhampton is the fact that they dropped Jose Sa from the starting lineup. Dan Bentley got the chance, former Brentford goalkeeper. He's been like a decent servant when it comes to the championship and stuff, but he's never really had the chance in the Premier League. And he had a fantastic game. Like he had 3 brilliant saves to stop Fernandes, to stop Anthony, to stop really a thrashing from Man United, because this could have been a 5-0 win. This could have been like Brighton against Wolverhampton as well. So yeah, Wolverhampton away from home seems like a team to target. Man United still look really good, even without Rashford, who was injured for this game. But yeah, next match, we have a sad story, really. Southampton, after I think it's 10 straight years now of Premier League, of fancy Premier League memories, they are going down. They just didn't have what it took this season. They've swapped managers twice. Nathan Jones was a travesty, never should have done that. I think they should have just kept Hasenhüttl. I think they might have kept their place, but still, I think their squad is the worst in the league. Like, they do have some good players, Ward-Prowse, Walker-Peters among those, but they just don't have enough quality to stay up. Alcaraz as well has looked amazing the last few games, but still, they don't have enough firepower. Fulham, however, they do have Mitrovic back, and he scored straight after coming on back after his 8-game suspension. I mentioned him as one of my differentials, like I did with Anthony, who should have had more for Man United, really. I also have to mention, like, the first goal for Man United, Anthony had a really just brilliant, unselfish pass, which was surprising, really, to Martial to give Man United 1-0. It was a really good goal, and really nice assist from Anthony, who's kind of having an up and down season. He might be also interesting for next season's FPL, but we're over to the Fulham game now, and Mitrovic scored. Vinicius, his replacement, scored the first goal, which was a kind of lucky goal, because Lianco was trying to clear it for Southampton, and he cleared it straight into a tackling Harrison Reed, and the ball went straight into the feet of Vinicius, who had no issues scoring the first goal. So Fulham, they sent Southampton down. Fulham don't really have much to play for, but they still managed to send Southampton down, because Southampton are just that bad. Couldn't really create much all game. Ward-Prowse, for sure, probably stays in the Premier League. But yeah, I just want to mention a couple of nice FPL memories from Southampton. Listed a couple of players there. Ricky Lambert, we all know when they came back up 10 years ago, Ricky Lambert was the guy. He took penalties. He was a nice goal scorer for them. Really fun player. He even got some England caps, I remember, for Southampton. And obviously they've had a lot of good players. Van Dijk, Sadio Mane. They've given Liverpool so many good players, Southampton. But yeah, we also got to mention Graziano Pelle, who was also a bit of a legend for Southampton. Danny Ings definitely as well was amazing like 2 seasons ago. I think he had 25 goals in the league or something, which is crazy now that he's like a backup striker for West Ham. We'll talk about West Ham later, and Danny Ings, who started for them. But anyways, Southampton, it's been nice knowing you, but you really need to recuperate something in the championship and come back stronger, hopefully, because I think Southampton deserves to be, or should be, a Premier League team, because they really are. Moving on to another team that is a Premier League team, and that is Chelsea. They are staying up. We knew that from last game week when they beat Bournemouth. They secured their place, and this time around against Nottingham Forest at home, it looked like they were going to get the win after two good goals from Sterling. Raheem Sterling, who's back in form. His hairline might be going away, as you can see from the picture, but his goal scoring is still not going away. He can still score, and yeah, I mentioned he was like the Chelsea player I like the most in a pretty easy home match against Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest conceded a lot of goals and Sterling took advantage. But still, Forest, Taiwo Avani scored, I think he scored twice last game week, and now he scored twice again. He at least got a few goals last game week, and he scored twice now again. I think Avani is a great striker, so I don't know why he's took so long to turn up, but it might be just in time for Nottingham Forest, who really look close to staying up now. I think they might do it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch Nottingham Forest. But yeah, Avani, the standout. Renan Lodi as well. Really could have scored the winning goal towards the end. Had a really nice shot that went just wayward. Also Felipe, I got to mention him. I think he's been like top 3 non-penalty or expected goal involvement players for Forest like several times. Like we all know Gibbs White puts in amazing set pieces for Forest, and Felipe has been so close to scoring a couple times. I think he scored even last game, but it was disallowed. He had like a crazy celebration, but I think Felipe is also someone who could score a couple goals. So if Nottingham Forest have some easy matches next season and he plays for them, he might be a good option, but that's far into the future if they even stay up. But both of the teams, we don't know about Forest yet, but Chelsea are staying up. They need to sort out a lot of stuff, but I think Raheem Sterling might have a bounce back season next season as well. I think he is a lot better than what he's shown for Chelsea so far. He still has some things left in the tank. He's not that old, so yeah, I think Sterling is going to be a good option for next season as well. The final 3 matches, we have Brentford against West Ham. I got to talk about my own favorite team, West Ham, and how they really didn't show up to this game, because they started with pretty much the whole squad, or the whole like first team on the bench. We're talking Declan Rice on the bench, Paqueta on the bench, Jared Bowen on the bench, Suma on the bench, Cresswell on the bench, Thilo Kehrer, who had a really nice game against Man United, who was on the bench. Only Souček, Aguerd, and Fabianski really were the main starters that started this game for West Ham. Baran was also on the bench, even though he has the best non-penalty expected goal involvement. But anyways, they had most of their first team players, or first 11 players, were on the bench, but the first goal for Brentford was actually caused by the regular starters for West Ham. Aguerd played a really poor pass from him. Aguerd has all the skills really to be like a top level center back, but he keeps making huge mistakes. Like he's made so many mistakes for West Ham this season, so I still think he has loads of potential, but he really hasn't showed it this first season for West Ham. He showed it in spurts, but yeah, anyways, that's a bit of a tangent for him. He passed the ball away. Brentford, as always, they are lethal when they get the chance. When they smell blood in the water, they just go for it and they score. And Mbeumo didn't have the best shots, but it still went in because Fabianski is getting a bit old and he's not really the best goalkeeper anymore. So really should have saved that. But Brentford were without Ivan Toney, but seemed like it was no problem. As you can see from the expected goals, they just completely battered West Ham, 3.62 compared to 0.22. Just an absolute thrashing. Jan Wissa keeps scoring against West Ham, and he scored the second goal as well. Really poor from West Ham. A long throw headed on to Wissa, who scored with his head, and another headed goal by Brentford this season. That was tough to say, but anyways, Brentford had no problems without Ivan Toney, but West Ham had a lot of problems without Paqueta and Rice, especially. I gotta say, once again, Declan Rice came on after like 60 minutes, and West Ham actually proved to have some fight left in them. They got a goal disallowed as well. Basically hit the hand of Divine Mubama, who's like a young striker who's one to watch for next season really, because Ings is getting old, Scamacca doesn't seem to fit in with West Ham, and Antonio might be towards the end of his career for West Ham. So Divine Mubama, I think his name is, or it's the pronunciation of his name. He is one to watch for next season for sure, because he's been scoring goals left and right for West Ham too in Premier League too. But yeah, Brentford looked great again. Dom scored 0.80. It's nice to see him have some nice involvement. He was so good for Denmark in the Euros, but he's been really not that good for Brentford so far. But Mbeumo and Wissa, Brentford have a lot of decent players even without Toney, and they won this quite easily against West Ham. So hats off to Brentford. Anyone that kept a Brentford defender, whether it's David Raya in goal, like I did personally, or Henry or Pinnock. Ben Mee got an assist as well. Got to mention that. He headed it on to Wissa. So Brentford defenders, massive game week for them. So anyone that started Brentford defenders, deserves praise for that, I guess, against West Ham, who were kind of checked out before a really important Tuesday or Thursday game in the Conference League, the second leg of a semi-final, to get into a European Cup final, which would be amazing for West Ham. But moving on to the next game, we have Everton against Man City, and what really strikes me here in this game is the expected goals from Man City, 0.76, and they still win 3-0. And that's mostly down to Ilkay Gundogan being amazing, underrated. Like his whole tenure with Man City, he was the first signing for Pep Guardiola, and he's been top 3 most important signings, top 5 most important signings for Guardiola. I don't know. He's been so good. We all know he had that huge purple patch, I guess we can call it, 2 seasons ago, I think, for Man City when De Bruyne was out. And once again, when De Bruyne is not playing, Gundogan he's amazing as an FPL option. He scored 2 goals. First one was absolutely brilliant. Nice cross from Mahrez. And Gundogan, his first touch was amazing. You can see his leg like going up and like down, takes down the ball perfectly, and then like scoops it in with a nice like acrobatic-ish shot. So really nice from Gundogan, who also scored a really nice free kick for Man City. So well done from him. And then obviously Erling Braut Haaland as well had to get on the score sheet. Nice cross from who else? Gundogan, who got an assist as well. And Haaland right in front of goal, headed it into the goal. I don't understand how that was only 0.22 expected goals, because that seemed like a surefire goal, especially for someone like Haaland, headering it from inside the 5-yard box or whatever it's called, the smallest box in the in the penalty area. But yeah, that seemed like a huge chance, and Haaland obviously scored it. So 3-0 for Man City, and even though they probably should have conceded, Ederson got a huge clean sheet and 2 bonus points for anyone that stuck with him. Finally got some points from him. I know a lot of people celebrated those points, but they really should have conceded as well, because Everton had some really nice chances from set pieces. You got to mention that Sean Dyche, his teams always have good set pieces, and yeah, Holgate really should have scored. It was headed down to him from Tarkowski, and he just couldn't get his feet in order to put the goal into the goal. Put the ball into the goal. The goal into the ball. Anyways, to put the ball into the goal, Holgate didn't do. Yerry Mina also had a decent chance as well to score, but it wasn't meant to be for Everton. It was meant to be for Ederson owners, so congratulations to all of you guys, and especially congratulations to anyone that had Ilkay Gundogan. Personally, I have John Stones and De Bruyne, which, yeah, once again, picking the wrong City assets, it's my specialty really, so I'll make note of that next season to tell you which City players I have so you can avoid them. But moving on to the final game, it also should be mentioned when it comes to Man City, this clinches the title for them, and especially considering what happened in the Arsenal game against Brighton, where they, yeah, like I've written down here in the notes, air just went out of Arsenal. They were the better team in the first half, probably should have taken the lead, had some good chances. Trossard hit the bar, Saka had a really nice shot just wide. Arsenal could have taken the lead in the first half. They were really up for it. They really wanted to keep the pressure on Man City. But after Brighton scored the opening goal, it was a header after Estupiñan passed it. I've written Estupiñan did the Özil both for his assists. He hit it into the ground and up to I can't remember. Yeah, and Enciso who scored the first goal. And then Undav scored after a bad mistake from Arsenal. And then finally Estupiñan scored again. Huge haul for Estupiñan owners like myself. But yeah, Estupiñan also for the goal, he shot it into the ground and up like Özil made famous for Arsenal. So fun to see for Brighton, but not fun to see for Arsenal at home as well. Crushing defeat at home. Their title hopes are completely gone. Arteta was not happy after the game with how the game was played, or the second half was played at least, because second half they really struggled, and Brighton won convincingly in the end. Another great result for Brighton, who have been sort of like a bogey team for Arsenal lately as well. We all remember the Neil Maupay, Bernd Leno thing from 2 seasons ago as well. But yeah, great for Estupiñan owners. Great for anyone with Enciso as well. Looked amazing. He looks like a really good player and really fun player to have as well. He's listed as a striker for like very cheap, so he's also like a nice differential next week when they play Southampton at home and then Man City as well. So yeah, fun game for Brighton, not so fun for Arsenal. Trossard really the only guy of note from Arsenal. Really struggled. Saka, I don't know what happened with Bukayo Saka. He's had 2 huge games against Southampton and Crystal Palace. But apart from those 2 games, he's just been completely lackluster and hasn't done much at all after many people had him as like the player of the season at that point. But yeah, I don't know. Saka is still amazing, obviously, but It's kind of overrated, I think, but that's just a hot take for me at the end of this this edition of the weekend walkthrough. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some nice info from all of the matches, and I wish you well for the final 2 game weeks of the season. I just wish for the season to be over because it's been really terrible for me, and yeah, Estupiñan was one of the lone bright spots for me this weekend, but hoping for some Isak joy in the final game against Brighton as well, but we'll see about that. So anyways, like and subscribe to this channel, the video, all that stuff. Follow me on Twitter if you want. I'm going to change my Twitter handle to FPL Scope pretty soon, but we'll get to that soon. Anyways, that's been the weekend walkthrough, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.